Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Redkel. Sorry about the fact the last video was a little short. Sometimes things come up. We'll leave it at that. Something burning pizzas. I've been meaning to make shorter videos anyway, so we'll see how it's probably okay, right? Which actually, as long as that's been mentioned, I will get that out of the way. One of the neat things that I'm trying to do here okay, so Sabin goes first here. Anyway, yeah, one of the neat things that I'm trying to do is when I have opportunities, I'm gonna take some Q&A from either comments that people leave or from comments on my Facebook posts. One of the questions that was asked was, how many pizzas have you burnt while making videos, while playing games? And the answer is more than I'm comfortable saying. Probably 5 or 6. It depends on if it's just pizzas or if it also includes quesadillas. So, while I was flipping through some notes here, and the reason I brought that up is because one of the things that was asked was, how many pizzas have you burned playing games? So, that's why it came up, and there we go. The situation there with, oops, that's not what I was trying to do. That little quick scene with Shadow is something I'd actually never seen before that I saw come up in a guide. For those who are not aware, since I have mentioned it briefly a couple times, but I've not been explicit about it, for the sake of making sure that I don't miss anything, I did go through and make myself some notes, and I referenced several guides and made myself a short form version with some other just quick things regarding, specific things I wanted to bring up, topics that I wanted to bring up at certain points, good opportunities to make sure that themes got mentioned, stuff like that. We just got the earring on Sabin. The earring increases your magic stat by 25%, or the damage you do with magic spells by 25%. His Aura Bolt is considered magic. This is when we're going to get another question to answer. Siegfried. I don't understand why this guy is in this game. Completely honest. So we got lucky and got his counterattack. He only has like 100 hit points and goes down like a chump. And then takes the treasure chest anyway. This guy's gonna show up like 5 times throughout the game, 4 or 5 times, and there is no point to him. He is literally never, his presence is never fully explored. One of the questions that I did get to answer was about Siegfried, which I'd never really taken the time to consider too much. You see there he went from about 800 damage to 1,000 damage. So I did a little bit of research on Siegfried. Apparently in the Super Nintendo version, sometimes he's listed as Siegfried with an S, and sometimes he's listed as Siegfried with a Z. And there are theories based on that the difference that one of them is the real one and one of them is an imposter. I think that's a possibility. But I don't think it's necessarily. Whoa. I'm assuming that that attack automatically reduces someone to 1 hit point. No, because Shadow... So I just got really lucky. That's what I'm seeing. We're gonna do some healing. We're gonna do some Aura Bolts, because I think that's gonna do the most damage. Yes. So anyway, Siegfried with an S is supposed to be the imposter. That's the guy who we just ran into and fought. The other theory I've heard is that Siegfried with a Z only shows up when he's being helpful to you, when he's on your side. And Siegfried with an S shows up to get in your way, to steal from you. I don't think it's ever clearly defined. It's possible that he's just a random character that got thrown in, that maybe there was more to it, maybe there wasn't. There are fan theories that he shows up as one of your party members later, which we'll get into when we get to the World of Ruin. Basically, when we get to Endgame, we'll address that fan theory and why I don't like it. But yeah, this version of him does not have that translation difference between the Z and the S. Okay, so we're about ready to do a boss fight here. Now we get to fight the train. This has two really awesome things. We're gonna do both of them. So the first and most important thing is this. Sabin is going to suplex the train. Second thing is this boss is undead. And undead can get killed in one hit by a feeder. So just for the record, we could have killed that boss in one hit, but we had to stop and suplex it first, because that's how this works. You don't actually have to suplex the train, but it has formed many memes and therefore must be done. So we see a little bit more follow-up here. And as our heroes exit the train, we see some passengers boarding. Including Cyan's wife and child. Cyan is such a good character. And once again, this game does not pull punches, except for when it does. We'll talk about that in a minute, though. Okay. We have a moment of silence where you literally can't do anything. You can't leave. You can't get any response from him. Which is kind of cool in its own right. So we're going to do a little bit more here. Make our way to the next little area. This scenario in particular, like I said, is the longest one. It also doesn't stop. It's not like it's long because there's one thing that you have to do. It has 5 little sections to it that are all fairly lengthy in their own right. Like, we did, the river and the cave, both of which were fairly short in the first one. This one we've already done, the Imperial Camp. Walking across the area, the Imperial Camp and the Phantom Forest. Shadow leaves. Shadow leaves here regardless. So yeah, like I said, we've already gone through two fairly lengthy sections on top of all the walking. Now we get to do Barren Falls, and we still have the Veldt and the Serpent Trench after this. 2 more sections. I'm gonna try the trick for this. So, from what I've read, this fight actually has a timer on it. I don't know if it works in this version, so we're gonna try it. Normally, when you kill these guys, more of them spawn. So you just keep fighting enemies. Oh, he has that back. Yeah, like that. I forgot that Sabin had the black belt on to counterattack, so this could be annoying. So these guys will just keep spawning. Every time you kill 3 of them, 3 more appear. Until a certain time limit. Then the boss shows up. So when I was a kid, you know, I sometimes would just keep going and keep going and keep going and not understand why I was getting just hammered by these enemies, because there were, like, I went through 5-6 rounds of them. That was really nasty. Part of me is worried about getting killed by this thing in 1 or 2 shots. Part of me just wants to keep getting it. Part of me wants Cyan to get the XP. There we go. So yeah, you know, you can just sit there and kill those enemies until the cows come home. You don't get any extra XP that I'm aware of for it. Yeah, you don't get any XP for that entire fight. So that entire thing is basically pointless. But you can just wait. You kill one of them, and you wait, and you kill the other one after a full minute has passed. And we get introduced to Gau. This is the character, out of all of them, that I've never understood the point of. In a game full of amazing characters. You know, we've already met Terra and Locke, and Edgar and Sabin and Cyan. And we're gonna meet even more characters that are all that good. There are a whole... oh crap. I was not paying attention there. Well... hopefully these guys don't hit too hard. Split it up so that they can't focus one person down. And hope I don't get killed here, because I'll be really embarrassed. So yes, Gau is... really annoying. He's annoying to get. We do get a little bit more about his backstory eventually. But he has no connection to the Empire, has no connection to the Returners, has no stake in this battle. So he's kind of a tag-along by comparison, and there's very little point to him existing. On top of that, he doesn't follow the standard battle commands. We're gonna run away so we don't have to keep running into Gau. We have to get Gau, but we don't have to keep running into him. Let's stop by the weapon and armor shop real quick. Get another sword for Cyan. These claws here are actually the item that I was trying to steal from those enemies early in the game. And we'll do 2 iron armor. Got a Kempo gi. And I'll grab an iron helm. A bandana just to be safe. I don't want to go overboard on equipment. Like I said, I'm trying to conserve money. So yes, that is a brief little rant about Gao. Talking to the people in town, we hear a little bit more about this situation, and we find out that Gao likes dried meat. For some reason, we decide to go with him. Maybe it's the fact that Ishino showed up in our party window when we're on the equipment screen. Go in here. This is the messenger's house. Don't believe we have anything right now to do with this, but we will actually not going to be too concerned right now. Let's go in this relic shop. Make sure we've got what we need. White cape, no big deal. Was there something in the back of the relic shop here that I had a note? Oh, there's just a bed. There we go. I'm a soldier from Miranda. When our town fell to the Empire, I was forced to join the Imperial Army. I tried to flee rather than help them attack Doma, but they came after me. I barely escaped alive. Now I can't even move. I'll never see Lola again. There's a letter on the desk. Would you be kind enough to bring it to me? So this is that Imperial soldier that we saw questioning Kefka. That General Leo wanted to General Leo said, you know, I don't want you to be injured, you're a human being. Okay. So we're going to front the gold there for this soldier. This is another random thing that I knew that this guy was there, but I never knew exactly what was going on. He comes up later, more blatantly. So yeah. We're gonna go ahead, now that we've sent that letter, and see if we can get Gal. Of course not. Shows up twice when I'm not looking for him, and now I'm gonna have to fight multiple times to find him. Okay. while we're looking for this, I'm gonna pick another random question that somebody had asked. Let's see. So, one of the questions I was asked was... Oh. Never mind. Gao... See, this is why Gao's awful. He also doesn't want you to get questions answered. Give him some dried meat, and he now gonna come around. I'll still answer questions in a little bit. So, technically, from a stat perspective, Gao is actually one of the strongest characters. The problem is he has almost no equipment he can use. He is unable to use the basic fight command or any weapons. And the only way he can act is by going into what is called a rage, where he mimics so yes, he mimics different monsters. It still uses his stats instead of the monster stats, but he can mimic their moves. He can learn magic, he can learn items, or he can use items, he can use magic, but he can't actually just fight. Okay. I am already annoyed with Gao. I will tell you right now, as soon as we get back, he will not be in our party pretty much ever again, even when we have a choice, even when we have multiple parties to do. So, oh my gosh, we have to do this tutorial? Okay. So yes, we have a question here from Kyle. Kyle wants to know, do I prefer Chicago style or New York style pizza? Actually, he said which is better. I would like to start out by stating that as someone with celiacs, asking me about my favorite pizza is cruel, and you should feel bad. I will follow that up by saying that asking me to publicly state a controversial answer like that is also cruel. With that out of the way, I think that there are good things about both of them. They are both delicious. Cop-out answer. However, Chicago-style pizza is not what I think of as pizza. It's still delicious, it still has components of pizza, but it is not what I don't consider it to be pizza. So from that perspective, I would say New York pizza is better pizza, but Chicago-style is delicious food. Hopefully that answers it to your satisfaction. Basically, I actually like Chicago style better, but I don't consider it pizza. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and do another question because this part is very straightforward and boring. It's going to be a bunch of fights. And I've got a bunch of questions, so why not? Let's do one of Carrie's questions. She asked a somewhat traditional, strange question that sometimes gets asked. Would you rather fight a horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? I feel like this is a rather strange question to pose for this. However, I feel like I am specially qualified to answer this question. Because as a child, I was actually, at one point in time, bitten by both a duck and a horse. So, my answer is, I feel like it would be easier to win the fight against 100 against the 100 duck-sized horses, because the duck-sized horses would be more likely to spook. I mean, think about how easily horses spook when they're as big as they are, let alone if they were tiny. Horses also have, if I'm remembering my information correctly here, I believe horses actually have a fairly weak, like, ankle bones. Like, if they slip and stuff, they can break a leg really easily. I could be remembering this wrong. I'm not a horse expert by any means. But if they're that small and they still have that same flaw, I think that they would be really easy to disable. On the other side, ducks are mean. They have a lot of attitude. So, a duck that had physicality to go with its attitude sounds terrifying to me. Great. Okay, so those are your random questions for this video. We're gonna spend the rest of the time actually talking about the game. I had my nice distraction from Gao. He gave us a diving helmet. We're here now. We're on our way to, or back to our friends with Gao. As you've possibly noticed as we've been progressing through here, Gao, where is that? There's a secret passage somewhere over here, isn't there? Come on. It's not super important. But I would like it. Seems like it should be right there. Or down here. Okay, well. Meh. Anyway. You've seen Gao has, instead of a fight command, oh, there's more to the cave. That's why. Gao has a different command instead of fight called rage. As was noted, it's really confusing. I should probably actually equip the stuff I bought, shouldn't I? As we saw in the little tutorial thing, Gao's command is Rage. It mimics a monster. You pick a monster, he does its attacks. He has a couple to start with. Basically the things we fought on the belt. After that, you can't pick commands for him, which is the main problem I have with it. Okay, we're gonna run up here to Nakia quick. We're gonna go to the armor store, double check, make sure that we have everything we need. Grab a silk robe quick. Go to the weapon store quick. Make sure we've got, this is that mithril spear that we got at the very beginning of the game by unequipping Mog. This is the point where you actually would be able to buy it for the first time. I think the item shop might be actually what we need stuff for. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna buy a couple smoke bombs. And that should be good. Just to make things easier if we want to avoid combat. And we're gonna buy this kid. We've got that, we've got that, we've got that. Let's grab one fairy ring. It's the relic salesman for the town. I just realized that I'm pretty sure that that was actually the end of the scenario and I forgot to unequip again. Yep. Oh well. Yep. Oh well. We'll go and finish Locke's scenario here quick as well. Locke's is another shorter one. And far more interesting. This is actually where I got stuck the first time I played the game. So yeah, we finished Sabin's scenario. We see this is occupied South Figaro now. See the Magitech soldiers all over the place. It's kind of neat. That was just plain rude. I'm a treasure hunter. Okay. So we are going to have to disguise ourselves to get through the town. Which is kind of neat. And I believe, let's see here. I think it's here. So there's basically soldiers blockading certain areas and people blockading other areas. What we need to do is keep changing our disguise to get through. Little kid brags about his grandpa. We're going to go find a new disguise now. I'm gonna kind of just roll through this instead of having to do all the things that lead up to the decisions you make, because it's never made a ton of sense to me. Like I said, this is the part I got stuck on as a kid, because following the logic train is not completely intuitive for this section. I thought you could still steal from this guy. I thought you had to steal from this guy. There we go. Okay, so we are now going to disguise ourselves as an Imperial trooper. It's a nice dark green uniform here. This guy's going to walk away. I'm going to go down to the stairs here and visit this merchant. To switch back. These are a little tight, but the price was right. So, I like this section because it's a neat way to show Locke actually doing thiefy things. You know, people calling him a thief isn't just because... isn't for no reason. I mean, he's obviously has skills as a thief. So, I like that this is the opportunity to show that. So only merchants can pass through this kid. If this guy likes cider. Doesn't remember the password to tell his grandson, which is annoying. Password is courage. And we find a secret passage. The secret passage takes us over to the rich house over here. And we get this really cluttered little basement room. Once again, there's an elixir in the clock. I'm not sure why. Almost every clock in this game has an elixir in it, though. There's a fair number of them. Okay, the Imperial troops have turned this house into one of their bases. Little girl gives you a little hint there. And we go over here. And when you get close to this bookshelf, we hear wind. And we find out that clue about drafty houses was true. She's one of the Imperial generals. A Magitech knight forged by the Empire and tempered in battle. None have ever truly known the woman beneath the general's guise. So, this is what I was actually referencing earlier. In the original version of this game, the guards take turns taunting and beating Celes. It's another example of the Empire being awful, of showing what the Empire is. It's also why she's collapsed when we get to this point. Due to a change in the censorship and rating laws in Japan, that part of the scene was entirely cut in all subsequent versions. Now, it strikes me as a bit odd that Japan is okay with Kefka poisoning a river, killing women and children, but showing violence towards a bound person is considered outside of the acceptable rating category they wanted. So all subsequent versions, I believe after the PlayStation version, have had that part cut. Which gets us into some very interesting topics of censorship on this subject. It's one of the questions Kyle asked. I am going to talk more about Celes in a minute as well. We've got time for that. So, there are several things that have been censored over the years from this game. One of them is, I believe, the cafes in the original game are all pubs. It's a fairly straightforward one that happens in a lot of RPGs. Secret passage, by the way. Oh, we don't have a sword for her. That's not good. Oh well. Okay. So yes, anyway, there's a lot of different kinds of censorship that's been done to this game over the years. The most obvious ones were mostly done as part of localization. Japan is a little bit more lax about nudity taboos than the US, so there were several character sprites that had nothing like gratuitous, but there is some very simple nudity in some of the character sprites, usually, or suggestive at least, nudity. The US has some additional clothing that has been superimposed onto those sprites, which is actually different in multiple versions of the game in some cases. There are some minor taboos of and censorship regarding religion. Early US releases of games in general, especially actual Nintendo games. So in this case, a game on the Super Nintendo, does not allow for religious iconography or terminology to be used within games. And what that can mean is fairly broad. In this case, it's a lot of things like the holy spell gets renamed in this particular game to Pearl. Let's see. There's a few other things, like one of the espers was named Lakshmi, which I believe stems from Hinduism. I could be wrong on that. I'm not an expert. There's also an esper that was originally called Jihad. For some reason, that got changed in the US. There's a bit of language that gets censored out, but not a ton. That one actually surprised me a little bit, that there was much at all, but apparently Kefka uses a lot of more offensive language in the original version, in the Japanese version. But from what I've been told, a lot of that doesn't translate terribly well. It's not like what we would consider cursing in a lot of cases, and the literal translations as a result make it seem like he's just, you know, a Kevin Smith movie instead of the purpose that it's supposed to have in Japanese, which is part of why they changed it. The other character we will meet later on is Realm. Has much more of a potty mouth in the Japanese version of the game. It's partially in just the type of language she uses, which again, in Japanese, does not translate correctly, and also Nintendo of America, when it was first released, did not like the fact that there was a 10-year-old girl swearing, or using language that was even remotely inappropriate. So she still says things that are very precocious and perhaps a bit offensive, but they are not, but they're clean. Personally, I understand when the Japanese localization doesn't carry the same meaning. The more important thing for me, I'm okay with a little bit of censorship as part of localization, if it means that, or as long as the purpose of those things still comes across. Like, for Pearl and Holy. Like, I didn't know for many years that Pearl wasn't the actual name of the spell. And in most, a lot of other things in the game, like there's a Pearl Lance and the White Dragon and stuff like that, so I didn't even think anything of it. Sword. So yeah, that's kind of, like, a lot of them weren't probably necessary, but I think a lot of them were also just not super noticeable, unless you knew about them and were looking for them. So, with that out of the way, that was one of Kyle's questions, as I said. I would like to talk about Celes. Celes is one of the most important characters in the game. One of the other things that was brought up was the question of who the main character is, and it's a very complex question, and I'm going to take more time to talk about it later. But I think a lot of the argument comes down to if Celes or Terra is the main character. And I think one of the cool things about this game in particular, above pretty much any other game I can think of, is that I don't have an answer for that. And I think that says a lot about the quality of the characters in the game, that I can't give that answer. I think that the game has several major kind of arcs to it, and I think that for one of the arcs, Terra is the central bridge character we've already established that's the conflict with the Espers, or the not conflict with the Espers, the bond with the Espers. She has a connection of some kind, and we don't know what it is yet. On the other side, we have the Empire. And Celes is the bridge character for that. We've already established she was an Imperial general. She knows the Empire. And so she, throughout the game, especially during the beginning of the game, serves as that bridge. She's also an Imperial general. And the other character we have, we've got two characters that kind of serve as a foil for Kefka. And one of those is General Leo, who we've met, and the other one is Celes. She's the Imperial general who found him so reprehensible that she defected. I think that's really cool. And I think that that's a good reason for her to be another major character in this game, and that as the game goes on, she takes a more central role. There's a point when the Esper conflict is largely resolved. I don't feel like that's spoilers, we're gonna get there. It's not completely resolved, but it's mostly resolved. And at that point, Celes takes more of a forward role, and Terra takes more of a back role. One of the other things that I find very interesting about main characters in this game is actually Locke. One person brought up that they felt like Locke was the main character, or one of the main characters. And I think Locke has a really interesting role because in a modern Final Fantasy game, he might be the main character. And by that I mean, so before this game, the main character was very defined, very clearly defined. There's no question. Most of the games don't have a main character, first of all. I'd say FF5 actually has some of the same problems as the future games, but it kind of skirts around it a little bit better. And the problem is that in games after this, the main characters tend to not have as strong of a presence. Or at least not as much of an important role in the game. Final Fantasy IX, while we eventually find out there's something with Thane, Dagger is really the main character for most of the game. FF12 is probably, or 10 and 12 are probably the most guilty of this. Yuna is totally the main character in 10. And gets completely overshadowed. For no apparent reason, but one could probably argue because she's female. And 12 is even worse, because it takes so much longer to find out that the main character has any connection to the plot. And Ash is totally the main character in that game. So I think it's interesting that Locke, who is a very good support character, and is actually kind of like, if Terra's the bridge with the Espers, and Celes is the bridge with the Empire, and with Kefka, Locke is the bridge between Terra and Celes and the Returners. He's the one who draws them in to the rest of the characters and connects those characters. So, in a lot of ways, we could use him as a point of view character and have him be the one to draw everyone together. And in future Final Fantasy games, that sort of thing would be what happened. I don't know that for sure, obviously, and I may be overthinking things a bit. I do think Locke is one of the central characters in the game, by far. I mean, he is, as I said, the character who has the strongest connection to both Celes and Terra out of the main characters. And out of everybody, he has probably the most backstory connections that we'll go into as well. Or at least the most substantial ones that we know about right off the bat. There's no secrets or hidden things with him. It's all very straightforward, which is kind of cool. That being said, it's also pretty straightforward, and while he does go through an arc, it's kind of off-screen. He starts out being very open to protecting people, especially women, who are in trouble. And we're gonna see that kind of be a thing. And we'll understand why. But for the most part, he's more of a catalyst for the other two female characters, or for the two female lead characters. So I guess I kind of did answer the question. And we're gonna actually... Where is it? So, this leads me to another important point. Rods are stupid. The reason we didn't loot this cave initially is because we found that thunder rod there. Rods are very powerful. 3 groups have arrived in Narshe, and now a decisive battle is about to unfold. I didn't get a chance to save. I guess we're going through this cutscene. Good thing I had that little break earlier, I guess. Bannon really speaks his mind. He's not very good at this whole politics thing. So yes, rods are very powerful. What they do is actually cast a level 2 version of a spell based on the character's magic stat, and they ignore magic defense completely, and they always roll max damage. So all the random number generators roll maximum damage for that spell based on the character's stats, and then it ignores the enemy's defense. I think it's going to come up a bit more as we go through the game. That's actually the main reason we're saving up money. Is because magic rods are expensive. They're supposed to be weapons, but they have a chance to use them as a one-time item to blow things up. Here's some more some more things piling up here. The Empire's poising to attack, or is planning to attack. Find out the Empire's trying to attack Narsh. We're trying to convince the elders of Narsh that Narsh should take a step there. Find out that Celes was the one who destroyed Miranda. You Imperial beat. Interruption. I won't give up a woman I've sworn to protect. Locke, you still haven't gotten over that, have you? So once again, we hear that coming up again. I was also an Imperial soldier. What? That doesn't mean all of its citizens are. Under attack. Okay. I don't care what you have to do, just get me that Esper. Mercy is for wimps. They get in your way, kill them. So once again, we're getting this very distinct reminder. There's a difference between the Empire and its citizens. Between people like Kefka and other people. I'm a soldier, not some love. Great. Quit. That answers my next question. Who'd have thought we'd meet again like this? You can use magic too, can't you? But it's different from mine. I was raised to be a Magitech knight. When I was still very young, I was artificially infused with magic. Is it possible for you to love other people? Are you mocking me? Once again, here, Terra's quest for love there. Do not think for a moment that I trust you. Fine. Use your own eyes and see for yourself which side I'm on. Okay. So, we're gonna save here. Because a lot is gonna happen really quickly coming up after this. Also because we've been going for a little while here, and I feel like we've talked about quite a bit, and this seems like a good time to break it up. Sorry if it was a little rambly at times. I'm trying to kind of mix up talking about the game and talking about the questions people have asked, and some of those are going to be game related, some of those are going to be related to other games, some of them are going to be related to this. So hopefully I'll try to give at least context for those. Some of them are, like I said, just completely random questions that people have asked me on Facebook, or in comments in other videos. So yeah, some of them are going to be random, but I think it's still fun to give these answers, especially since most of the people who watch these videos are people who I know in real life. And if you're not, hi. Hope you're enjoying the videos. So with that being said, I do hope that you're enjoying these videos. If you are, please give me a like and subscribe. Check out the other content on my channel. If you have any questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comments. And as always, have a good one. Catch you next time with Kefka at Narsh.